They say the worst betrayals come from those closest to you, but I never believed that until it happened to me. I used to think betrayal wore a mask of malice, something you'd sense in the shifting shadows of a person, something that would smell wrong, feel off. But the truth is, real betrayal wears the face of someone you love, someone who knows the rhythm of your heartbeat, the shape of your dreams, the fears you whisper in the dark. My name is Ava. I'm 32 years old, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had the kind of life people envy. I had a husband who made coffee every morning just the way I liked it: oat milk, a little cinnamon, extra hot. His name is Daniel. We met in college, dated for 4 years, and have been married for 7. Everyone called us solid. We were the couple people asked for advice. You know, the couple you look at and say, I want that. And I had a best friend, Lily. We'd been friends since high school. The kind of best friends who knew each other's locker combinations and first crushes. She was there when my dad died. I was there when she had her first panic attack. We were, in every way, sisters. No one ever questioned that. Daniel and Lily liked each other, but never too much. Or so I thought. She used to call him Boy Scout because he always had a plan and hated being late. He called her Chaos because she was the opposite. She drank too much red wine, bought dresses she'd never wear, and still believed in horoscopes. I always thought they tolerated each other for me, of course. I never saw what was coming. Looking back, there were signs, not dramatic ones. Nothing like lipstick on a collar or hidden texts. It was in the quiet things, the way they sometimes laughed a little too long at each other's jokes, the way Daniel started commenting on Lily's Instagram posts with inside jokes that I didn't understand, the way I started feeling like I was the extra person at the table. But I didn't listen to that voice. The one that said something didn't sit right. Because why would I question the two people I trusted most in this world? Then everything changed. It was a Friday in March. I remember because it was the day I found out I wasn't pregnant. Again. We'd been trying for almost a year, and every negative test hit me harder. Daniel had been more detached lately, but I blamed the stress of work, the pressure of fertility appointments, the general exhaustion that comes from trying to make a baby when it stops being romantic and becomes routine. I sat in the bathroom staring at the test, numb. I didn't cry. I just felt cold. I didn't even tell Daniel right away. Instead, I grabbed my coat and went to Lily's apartment, thinking I needed her. My person. She opened the door and smiled, but it wasn't the usual smile. Something in her eyes was off, and then I noticed it. The tiniest bump, barely noticeable, but real. She saw me see it. Her hand instinctively went to her stomach. You're pregnant, I said before I even realized the words had left my mouth. And her face? God, I will never forget the way her face fell. The silence that followed was the kind of silence that comes before an earthquake. Everything about the moment felt slow and sharp, like glass cracking in your chest. She nodded, quiet, no joy, no glow. And I swear, something in me shattered right then. But not because she was pregnant, because I already knew. I stood there for what felt like hours, my coat still on, keys still in my hand, mouth slightly open. The realization hung in the air between us like smoke from a fire neither of us could put out. I'm sorry, she whispered, barely audible. It was the first time Lily had ever sounded small to me. You're sorry, I repeated, like I didn't understand the words. My voice felt unfamiliar, tight. Tell me it's not his. She didn't answer, and her silence screamed louder than anything she could have said. Tell me, I said again, louder. My hands were shaking. Lily, tell me you're not pregnant with my husband's child. She broke. Not in the way people do in movies, with tears and dramatic explanations. She folded in on herself, like shame had gutted her from the inside out. It was one time, she said. It was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to happen. I let out a sound I didn't recognize. Half laugh, half sob. One time? I didn't believe her, not for a second. Women know. We know when something's been happening for a while, even if we refuse to see it. I didn't mean to. Stop, I said. Don't say that. Don't act like this just happened to you. She opened her mouth, but I was already backing away. You knew we were trying. You knew what I was going through. I didn't plan. No, you just let it happen. I then looked at her, really looked at her. Her face was pale, eyes red, but she wasn't crying. Not like she should have been. Does he know? She nodded. And that was when I felt it. The crack. The moment something inside me snapped free. The thing I had built my life around, trust, broke. And once it broke, everything else began to unravel. I left without another word. Daniel was sitting on the couch when I got home, scrolling on his phone like nothing had happened. Like our lives hadn't detonated just hours earlier. I stood in the doorway and watched him. He looked up and smiled. Hey, you okay? I almost laughed. Lily's pregnant. He froze. His face didn't move, but his hands tightened around his phone. I know, I said before he could speak. I know, Daniel. His expression collapsed. Ava, how long? I asked. It was just one time, he said, mirroring Lily like they'd rehearsed it. Stop lying, I snapped. How long? He dropped his head into his hands. A few months, he said quietly. It started at that conference, the one you couldn't come to because of your appointment. I remembered. I had a fertility treatment scheduled. He said he'd only be gone 2 nights. Why? I asked. Why her? He looked up, and for a second, I saw something like guilt. Or maybe fear. But not regret. Never regret. I don't know, he said. We were drinking. We were talking about you, actually. About the pressure you were under. It just happened. The audacity. You were talking about me? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You cheated on me because you were bonding over how hard my life was? No. I was shooting hormones into my body so we could have a child. I was timing everything. I was exhausted. And you were screwing my best friend? He had no answer. I don't even care that it was her, I said, voice sharp. I care that you could look me in the eye every day and lie, that you let me cry in your arms after every negative test, knowing what you had done. He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. Get out! He blinked. Now, get out! I yelled as loud as I could. He didn't fight. He just stood, grabbed his keys, and left, like it was that easy. I sat on the floor of our kitchen for hours after that. Just sat. The same floor we used to dance on, the one he painted my favorite color, the one where I once knelt with a positive ovulation test in my hand, thinking this is it, that this was the life we were building. Except it had never really been ours. And now it never would be. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence. A silence that used to feel safe. Now it sounded like everything I'd lost. I thought of all the things I would never get back. The version of Lily who was my sister. The version of Daniel who was my forever love. The version of myself who didn't know heartbreak like this. Grief is a strange thing. It doesn't hit all at once. It comes in waves. That night, it washed over me in quiet sobs and aching memories. It was the kind of heartbreak that doesn't scream. It whispers. It whispers things like, you weren't enough. And maybe the worst part is, a part of me believed it. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. My eyes were swollen, my mouth dry. The house felt haunted. Not by ghosts, but by the versions of us that used to live here. The memories were everywhere. In the way the sunlight filtered through the curtains, in the dent in the couch cushion where Daniel always sat, in the mug he used that still sat in the sink, like a relic of another life. I didn't touch it. I didn't move anything. I just sat at the kitchen table in the same pajamas from the night before and stared out the window. I kept thinking, what now? The question echoed over and over. Like, if I could just answer that one thing, I might survive it. But grief doesn't work like that. Betrayal doesn't give you a to-do list. It just breaks you open and waits to see what kind of woman crawls out of the wreckage. My phone buzzed. One new message, Lily. I stared at it for a long time. Then I opened it. Please don't shut me out. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I miss you. I need you. Please, just tell me what you want me to do. The irony made me laugh. She needed me. That was rich. I didn't reply. By noon, my mother called. She always called on Sundays. Hi, honey, she said, chipper as ever. How's everything going with the baby plans? It hit like a punch in the gut. I didn't say anything at first. I couldn't. I was afraid that if I opened my mouth, the scream that had been building in my chest for hours would explode out of me. Ava? she asked, concerned now. Daniel cheated on me, I said flatly. There was silence. With Lily, I added, just to drive the dagger in. I could almost hear her sit down. What? She breathed. No, are you sure? She's pregnant. Oh my God. That was the first time I cried that day. Not sobbed, not wailed, just a quiet, defeated release that came with the words, oh my God, because hearing someone else say it made it real in a way my own mind hadn't accepted yet. The next few days passed in a haze. I didn't leave the house. I didn't shower. I barely ate. I answered only 2 calls. My mother and my boss, who kindly granted me a personal emergency leave, with no questions asked. The texts kept coming in. From Daniel, from Lily, from mutual friends who didn't yet know the truth but noticed something was off. I ignored them all. Instead, I sat in bed and scrolled through old photos. Pictures of vacations, birthdays, lazy Sunday mornings. Lily was in almost every frame. So was Daniel. I had documented my own betrayal, captured in smiling snapshots of 2 people who had been burning down my life while I framed it for display. I thought about deleting them all. But I didn't. Not yet. I needed to see the lie, over and over again, until I understood that it was never going to be true again. On day 4, there was a knock at the door. It was Daniel. I almost didn't answer, but I did. He looked like he hadn't slept. Hair disheveled, stubble shadowing his jaw, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder. He looked smaller, not physically, but emotionally, like the weight of his guilt had hollowed him out. Ava, he said quietly. I raised a hand. Don't. Please, I just need to talk. About what? My voice was glass. That you're sorry, that it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything? I know you hate me. Hate is generous, I said. Right now, you're not even worth that much emotion. He flinched. Can I come in? No, whatever you have to say it here. He swallowed hard. She's keeping it. I blinked. What? She's keeping the baby. And there it was, the sentence that would haunt me, not because it surprised me. Deep down, I already knew she would, but hearing it aloud made it permanent. It carved itself into my chest. She says she's sorry, he added. I almost laughed. Tell me something, I asked, voice trembling. Did you ever love me at all? He looked wounded, like he was the one breaking. Of course I did. I still do. Then why her? I whispered. Because I didn't have to pretend with her, he replied. Wrong answer. I slammed the door in his face. That night, I started packing. Not his things, mine. I needed air, space, a lifeline before I drowned in the wreckage of everything we were supposed to be. I called my cousin Emily. She lived 3 hours away and had a little guest cottage on her property. I need a place to crash, I said flatly. You don't even have to ask, she said. Keys are under the mat. I'll text you the code. I left that night. No note, no goodbye, just a woman, a suitcase, and a heart full of shrapnel. There's a numbness that sets in when you finally know too much. Not peace, not even anger, just quiet. Like the truth scraped you raw and now there's nothing left but silence inside your skin. That's how I felt the night I made our last dinner as husband and wife. I cooked his favorite, spaghetti with garlic and white wine sauce, grated Parmesan, lit a candle. Why? Maybe I was pretending things could still be okay, that if I performed the part well enough, the dream would come back. He sat across from me, swirling his fork, pretending nothing had changed. That I didn't just tell him the latest fertility treatment had failed, that I wasn't pregnant. Again. Now I know why he seemed unfazed. He already had a baby on the way? Because 2 days later, I found the ultrasound, wedged behind a crumpled receipt in his sock drawer. At first, I didn't even register what it was. I thought it was mine, from the baby we had lost. But then I saw her name in the corner, Lily Taylor, my best friend since we were 15. I didn't confront him at the door. I just watched him, studied every blink, every twitch in his mouth. A stranger in my husband's skin. He said nothing as I slammed the door. Looking back now, all I see is his performance. The sorrow, the compliments, the promises to keep trying. A well-rehearsed scene, an actor in the role of devoted husband. And I was the one who bought the ticket. But the betrayal had started months before, on the night I lost our baby. He held me, whispering that we'd try again. that love would carry us. The next morning, he brought me coffee in bed. 2 sugars, no cream, just how I like it. He kissed my forehead and told me he had a late meeting. Keep dinner warm, he said. I'll be back as soon as I can. That night, I texted Lily. Can we talk? No reply. An hour passed. I called. One ring, then voicemail. I remember pacing the kitchen, phone in hand like it was a live grenade. Finally, she messaged back, not now, please. At the time, I thought maybe something was wrong. Now I know that was the night they made their baby, the day after I lost mine. And what stings the most isn't the betrayal. It's that, on that night, I was worried about her. I put my grief on hold, thinking maybe she needed me. That's how deep the lie went. That's how deeply I loved her. But love, I've learned, does something strange to the brain. It dulls your instincts, it edits the truth, it makes you stay when you should run, hope when you should heal. And now they're having a baby I prayed for, bled for, begged for, and life handed it to them like a reward for breaking me. That night, he was late, really late, and I didn't keep his dinner warm. I sat at the table in silence, same spot as the night before when I lost the baby. Just me, a plate of cold chicken, and 2 untouched wine glasses. He walked in at 1:13 a.m. I remember because I checked the clock 3 times, like the numbers might soften what I already knew. The moment he opened the door, he froze, like guilt had walked in ahead of him. You're still up? He asked, his voice too casual. I didn't respond, just pointed to the chair across from me. He sat down slowly, looked at the plate, then at me. What's this? I slid the food toward him. Where have you been? His hands trembled slightly as he picked up the fork. His mouth opened, closed. He blinked hard. I can explain, he said too quickly. I shook my head. No, where have you been? This time, slower, sharper. He dropped his gaze, exhaled, and in that moment, I should have known. He wasn't about to tell the truth. It wasn't supposed to happen, he began. I almost laughed. What wasn't supposed to happen? We went out after the meeting, had a few drinks. I lost track of time. Funny how you managed to lose track of time while I sat here, mourning our child. My voice didn't rise. I wasn't angry. I was beyond anger. Who were you with? His eyes flicked up. Panic, unmistakable. Just people from work. And then silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. The kind of silence that doesn't come from peace. It comes from knowing the truth and waiting for someone to say it. Weeks passed before I finally agreed to meet with Daniel. I needed the truth. All of it. We met at a small coffee shop just around the corner from our old home. The place where everything we built came undone. He looked tired. Not just physically, but like someone who'd been unraveling slowly and didn't even notice. Turns out they'd been talking for months. It started innocent, he said. Texts, venting, leaning on each other when things got hard. She was lonely. I was confused. Confused. While I was under the same roof, loving them both, completely unaware. Looking back, the signs were there. She was always around, especially when I was working late or distracted by life. I thought she was helping. I thought she was family. All the while, I was building our future, and he was quietly setting it on fire. But the worst part wasn't the affair. It was that he never planned to leave me. She said she'll raise the baby alone, he muttered. She doesn't want to ruin your life. I laughed then, sharp, hollow, like something inside me had snapped open. My life is ruined, I said. He reached for my hand. I pulled it back like it burned. Don't, he froze, backed away like he'd touched a live wire. I'll fix this, he said. No, I whispered. You won't. Before he could speak again, I stood. He asked if he could stop by the house to get a few things. You have 1 hour, I said, and you better be gone before I return. Then I walked away. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't look back. After I left, he went back to the house. By the time I returned, he was gone. I don't know if he left because I told him to or because he couldn't face what he'd done. His drawers were half open and half full. The closet looked ransacked, like someone fleeing a crime scene. I still hadn't spoken to Lily. I couldn't. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine. and deleted both of their numbers. I didn't know what would come next, but I knew what wouldn't. Them. The next day, her sister Amanda called. We hadn't spoken in over a year, maybe longer. Amanda was always the sharp one, no sugarcoating, no pretense. So when I saw her name flash on my phone the morning after he moved out, I almost let it ring. But I picked up because some part of me needed confirmation, proof that I wasn't losing my mind, that this wasn't some grotesque fever dream. Her voice was tight, clipped, like she was holding her fury by the throat. Hey, I'm sorry. That was the first thing she said. Not hello, not how are you, just, I'm sorry. I said nothing, just listened. She exhaled sharply. I told her she was disgusting. I told her, you don't sleep with your best friend's husband. And there it was. It was real. I closed my eyes. The pressure behind them throbbed. But I didn't cry. I'd cried enough. She told the whole family, Amanda went on. Said she was in love, said it was fate, said you and he were already drifting apart. I let out a dry, hollow laugh. She said that. She did. And get this, she's showing, barely. But enough, and she's proud. Of course she is. She always loved being the center of attention. Now she had the ultimate spotlight. The scandal, the betrayal, the star role in her own soap opera. And I was the ghost left behind. Amanda's voice softened. He's still seeing her. I said nothing. I didn't want to tell you, she added. But you deserve to know. Of course he is, I whispered. They deserve each other. There was a pause. Then Amanda said something I didn't expect. She's miserable. I blinked. What? She cries every day. She really thought he'd leave you and be with her fully, be her partner, but he's distant, barely shows up, won't commit, comes and goes like a ghost. She thought the baby would change everything. And suddenly it all clicked. Of course she's miserable, because she didn't win. She didn't gain anything. She stole something, and it came laced with guilt, rot, and regret. She traded truth for fantasy, loyalty for delusion. And now she's left holding a dream that turned into a weight. And him? He was never a prize, just a coward in disguise. I wish I could say things quieted down after that, but they didn't, because 3 days later, the story leaked. Well, leaked makes it sound accidental. It wasn't. Lily posted a picture of the ultrasound. No caption, just the photo. But someone tagged him. And suddenly, his colleagues, his family, my family, everyone knew. People started calling me, not to console me, but to confirm. Is it true? I didn't want to believe it. Have you spoken to her? I always thought something was weird between them. I stopped answering my phone, turned off notifications, stopped going outside. Even the cashier at the grocery store looked at me differently, like she knew. That was the worst part, how small the world became, how I couldn't even breathe without feeling watched, judged, pitied. Lily finally reached out. It took her 2 more weeks, 2 weeks after the photo went live, 6 weeks after my life fell apart. She texted me, just one line, "Can we talk?" The nerve. I stared at the screen for a long time. My thumb hovered over delete. But something in me, curiosity maybe, clicked reply. Why now? She answered within seconds. Because I miss you. I stared. I laughed. I almost threw my phone. You miss me? I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask if she missed me while she was in my husband's bed. If she missed me while she plotted baby names. If she missed me when she knew she was destroying my life. But I didn't text that. I didn't respond at all. She messaged again. It was never supposed to happen like this. I finally wrote back. No, it wasn't, but it did. So now you can live with it. The unexpected ally. Weeks passed. Then came an email. From his mother. Subject line, if you'll let me say something. I almost deleted it, but I opened it. And what I read made me pause. I want you to know I never raised him to treat women like this. I don't know what happened to my son. I'm ashamed of him. I'm angry at him. And I'm so deeply sorry to you. You deserved more. I read that email 3 times, and I cried. Not because I forgave her, or him, or Lily, but because someone, anyone, finally saw me. Finally said what I'd been screaming into silence. You deserved more. Revenge or rebirth. I had 2 paths. I could go scorched earth, out them publicly, share the screenshots, the timelines, burn every bridge and salt the earth behind me. Or I could rebuild my own life quietly without giving them another ounce of my energy. I chose the second path, not because I'm noble, but because I was tired. Tired of pain, tired of replaying the same betrayal like a nightmare that never ended. Tired of being tethered to people who never truly saw me. So I started therapy, booked a solo trip, blocked them both, threw away everything they ever gave me. And for the first time in months, I could breathe. It had been 1 year since the day everything fell apart. The ring was gone. The divorce was in motion. The silence between us had become permanent. Until Daniel showed up, no text, no call, just standing on my doorstep with a box in his hands. It was a cold, gray afternoon. I had just gotten back from therapy, drenched from the rain. And there he was. I didn't want to open the door. I wanted to disappear, to pretend I wasn't home, to let the moment pass like a bad memory. But curiosity got the best of me. I opened the door just an inch. He looked hollow, not tired from lack of sleep, but the kind of tired that comes from living a lie. "Can I talk to you?" he asked. I should have slammed the door. Instead, I stepped aside. He tried to explain. He sat like a stranger on my couch, box still on his lap. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness," he said. Good, because he wasn't getting it. "I just don't know who I am anymore, and I think you deserve to know the truth." I stayed quiet. "She told me she was pregnant 2 weeks before she actually was. Said she just knew. Called it fate." I laughed, dry and sharp. "Fate doesn't sleep with someone else's husband. She wanted me to leave you. Said if I didn't, she'd tell everyone. I panicked. I didn't want anyone to know, especially you." "Especially me," I repeated, "because I was the wife." He dropped his eyes. "I thought maybe it meant something. Maybe I was supposed to be with her." I folded my arms. "So why are you here now?" He looked down at the box, finally opened it. Inside, baby shoes, a rattle, a sonogram, and a note. I didn't touch any of it. I didn't want to. "She left," he said quietly. "Lily? She's gone. Left the baby with me. Said I wasn't who she thought I was. Said I lied. That I never really loved her." "She was right," he added. "She made me feel like a god. At first. Everything you used to challenge me on, she praised. She made me feel needed. And then, she needed everything. My attention, my money, my soul. And I realized I didn't love her. I only loved the way she let me feel important." I stared at him. "So, what do you want from me now?" He looked up. "Nothing. Just promise me you'll look at what's inside the box when I leave." Then he just got up and left, leaving the box of baby things behind like some cruel joke. I wanted to throw it away, but I just couldn't. So I just put it away. A week later, Amanda called. Her voice shook. "She's back," she whispered. "Lily, she's staying with our parents. She's alone." My stomach turned. "The baby?" "No, her lawyer told her to leave the baby with him." "What?" "She's being sued." "For what?" Amanda hesitated. Then, like a gunshot, "For stealing your fertilized eggs." Silence. "What?" I croaked. "She said, during your last IVF cycle, she helped you with the paperwork." I remembered it instantly. The injections, the hormones, the crushing disappointment when the cycle failed. The 3 remaining embryos we were told to wait on. We never went back. "She told the clinic you donated them to her," Amanda continued. "She forged your signature, lied to the staff. He didn't find out until the paternity test came back." I dropped to my knees before I realized I had moved. "She stole my child," I whispered, and something inside me broke. Amanda kept talking, but I couldn't hear her. All I could see was the sonogram in that box. The baby I thought was theirs. But it wasn't. It was mine. That's why he had come. That's why he brought the box. He wanted to tell me. He didn't know how. So he brought the proof. After Amanda's call, I took the box out and opened it. There was a bin labeled Early Days. Inside, pictures of my baby. The day she was born, her first bath, her first smile. At first, it seemed like a normal baby album, until I found the envelope. Inside were 3 things: a lab report, a sonogram, and a photo of my husband holding a newborn in a hospital room. And there she was, in the background, having just given birth to my daughter. The lab report confirmed it. She was listed as mother. I was listed as egg donor. She'd stolen my eggs, forged the documents, lied to the clinic, and built her fantasy on top of my grief. She didn't just betray me, she violated me, she used me. I screamed. An animal sound came out of me as I threw the album across the room. Pages tore like broken promises. I called him. He didn't answer. So I drove. I don't remember much of the drive. Just the pounding of my heart and the sobs I didn't realize were mine. When he opened the door, the baby was on his hip. My baby. And he didn't look surprised to see me. Just tired. Like this moment had always been coming. I wanted to tell you sooner, he said. I laughed, jagged and bitter. When? At her high school graduation? He looked down at the baby, then back at me. She lied to both of us, he said. She always knew it was your baby. He didn't say anything else, didn't beg, didn't explain. He just let me hold her. And that was when I knew this wasn't betrayal. It was war. I took all the documents I could find. Consent forms I never signed, anonymous donor records that matched my DNA, a timeline that proved the clinic was complicit. Then I hired a lawyer, a team. It wasn't just unethical, it was criminal. Fertility fraud, medical conspiracy, consent violations, the kind that end careers. I filed the lawsuit quietly. And the fallout? Spectacular. The clinic shut down. Lily was charged with fraud and conspiracy. Daniel lost his job. And my child? She's mine. Not just biologically, but legally. Because I didn't sue for money, I sued for custody. And I won. Lily broke down on the courthouse steps. My ex begged me not to take the baby. Said I had to leave him something. After all, he was her father. But now she's home with me. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I refused to be erased. Because no one gets to steal my story and rewrite it for themselves. Not anymore. I won sole custody. And that night was the last time I ever spoke to either one of them. Because some betrayals don't get closure. Only distance. Only fire. 3 months later, I disappeared. Sold the house. Changed my name. Cut all contact with everyone. She thought she could repurpose me. Reduce me to a donor. Erase me from my own child's life. She was wrong. Because I didn't just survive. I reclaimed. And now, I'm writing the ending. My way, my name, my story. I finally had my happily ever after. Have you ever had to let go of someone you once called family just to come home to yourself? If you're comfortable, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know where you're watching from and simply share your story. This space was created for real stories, quiet strength, and hearts that are still learning how to heal. If that speaks to you, please subscribe. There's more here for you, more truth, more softness, and more stories that understand you.